Good evening, Neil Hopper. How are you?
I'm real. I'm very well, Jeremy.
Well, you never know in the world of AI, just checking. No, good to see you, and appreciate you getting your hair done, especially. It's very cool, man. You had it done a good few months ago. You had it, was it rainbow colours?
Oh yeah, I've had
And
it for a few years now.
yeah,
So yeah, rainbow. Well, actually, it started off bright pink for a wrestling event.
yeah,
Then it switched to rainbow for like the business, and I've
yeah,
just kept it a mad color ever since. Really, to be fair.
yeah. Well, I'm very jealous because, as you know, I'm bald, and that's why I have to have a cap
Well,
on. Otherwise, the light
I'm not
shines on
far
my head.
behind, mate. I'm not far behind.
No, you got plenty, mate. You got plenty. So yeah, I mean, I appreciate you coming on. We've got lots to talk about. We've known each other for a good number of years now, through Brush Wizards, and met a couple of times, or at least once, haven't we? At the paint show a
Yeah,
few
I've
years
had the
ago.
P&D show a couple of years back. Yeah.
Yeah, which was lovely. Um, so this mad world of painting and decorating. How did you get into it? And yeah, how
Well,
did it all
I
start? I'm
mean,
often curious.
I've been sort of in and out of the trades on and off since I was about 15 years old.
Mm,
So like labouring and bits like that. I've been a former electrician. I've done minor plastering and bits like that. But what really did it was we're going back 17 years now. And this is me being honest, and I've shared this in the group before. I fell on bad times and I made a catastrophic error of judgment, which resulted in me receiving a criminal record. Um, it nothing violent, nothing bad. It was just stupidity. Okay. But what that did was it put me onto something. Well, it was known as community service back in the day, but community payback. And I was put into a school to help decorate it over the summer. And I was paired up with a proper time served deck. Lovely, lovely guy called Derek. Um, and of course, he took me under his wing for the 8 weeks or so that I was there. Um, Taught me some tips and tricks, and it just sort of ignited something. Like it was only a classroom really that we were doing, but to see it go from all that blue tack and everything all over the place to this fresh, bright, clean area once again was quite satisfying to be a part of, and it was really nice to see. Um, and yeah, that sort of started me off on my journey. We didn't go into it straight away. I ended up doing some bar work, which is where I met my wife, and then it was her that encouraged me into the trades again because her dad's a 40-year contracts manager for building firms and all the rest of it. And then about when was it? It must be about 7 years ago. I got taken on as like a general dog's body, shall we say, for a building firm.
yeah.
And I noticed that they were literally getting me to do the painting all the time. Literally, that's wherever it was. It could be anywhere up and down the UK. That's where I was getting sent, and it was always with a paintbrush and a roller in hand. And I just sort of fell in love with it, if I'm being honest. Like I got to work in some amazing properties working for that firm, and so, like some of the comments I was getting, even though I'm not qualified, I'm not city and guilds or anything like that. I've picked up my skills over time and through trial and error. Normally on my own house, but yeah, and I just fell in love with it, to be honest. I suffer from a lot of racing thoughts and things like that. As you probably tell, I'm a bit all over the place, a bit scatty. And I find when I've got a brush in hand and my music on, it's just peace. I
Yeah.
mean, everything just melts away, and I'm just there on my own in my own little world. And yeah, I just fell in love with it, and that's really how I got into it. And I honestly can't see myself doing anything ever again that isn't this.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you've seen like like my son's currently looking for work and he's been doing bits with me. But I want him to just try different stuff out, because it's an easy route to paint with me. But like what you did, you tried lots of different stuff, and then if you can find something you really love doing, I mean, what a bonus. Um,
I mean, yeah, my wife, my poor suffering wife, for the first 10 years or so of our relationship, I had 16 different jobs, I think,
but that's
in that
okay.
time, like across all manner of things: recruitment, retail, bar work, banking, you name it. I probably did it.
Yeah.
Avon, I sold Avon for 3 years.
You were one of
But yeah,
those
no, ever
players
since.
for knocking on people's doors where you're trying to get an Avon party.
Oh no, I did it nice way. I just stuck a catalogue through and prayed to God someone ordered something.
But I like all that. I believe everybody should try loads of stuff out just to get an idea what you
Absolutely.
want because, you know, a lot of decorators are do follow in their father's footsteps or whatever and, you know, most hopefully enjoy it, but you don't want to get to your sort of 50s and 60s and be like, oh man, I just can't wait to get out of it, you know? So it's good to try stuff. I mean, I was very similar. I left school, you're all encouraged to sort of get office work, or however way that looks. And I done office work up until I was maybe 24, 25. But I'd always had a Saturday job working for some friends of the family, always done bits at home. Uh, so always, you know, I wasn't totally useless. But I literally put an ad in a paper and I got a call. And then I was like, oh man, that, you know, went to B&Q or whatever, had all my gear in some carrier bags, back in my XR2, chucked it in. And the first job was like lying in this cloakroom, which was, you know, you couldn't swing a cat in it. And I don't know how I got paid for it. You know, I'd never done lining before, but just over the years, I've hopefully got a bit better, you know, but made a good career from it.
Yeah, good.
So yeah, so you got into it. So how long did you say you've been sort of? I know you worked with a partner, but you've been self-employed by yourself for how long?
So 5 years, technically, literally 2 weeks ago, would be
Okay,
5 years of sole dedicated decorating and nothing else.
yeah,
But 2 years before that, multi-skilled tradesman. So I guess you could say sort of 7 years really, like dedicated to it. But I've always painted like my mum's houses or friends and families and bits like that. I've always seemed to be quite handy with a brush. I just never really considered it as a career.
yeah,
Not back in the day, anyway. I mean, when I left school, I was originally a chef. So, I went into catering college. That's all I ever wanted to be from literally probably knee high to a grasshopper, all the
mm.
way up until 18. Want to be a chef, want to be a chef. And then, unfortunately, my heart condition raised its ugly head. And, well, I mean, it's stressful enough sometimes being a decorator. You try being a chef when it's 110 degrees in the summer and you've got 300 people screaming that they want their food. High pressure, couldn't deal with it.
So I know recently, you know, it's in the community. You had a bad episode, and I didn't realise. I assumed it was something that had just come on. So you've had a heart condition for a while, and it reared its ugly head when you were chefing.
Yeah, so it's a hereditary genetic thing. Like my
Mm,
granddad had it, my dad's got it, I've got it. Hoping my son doesn't. We won't know for another 6, 7 years before we can get him tested for it. But yeah, it's always been there. It raised its head at 17, and I was in and out of hospital for a number of years actually, probably up until about 21, and then it got really, really bad. It's all triggered by a lot of it's triggered by stress. And then when I met my wife at what was I, 26, so then it disappeared. And I mean completely disappeared. I didn't have a single attack for 16 years until June, just gone, which was definitely my worst one to date, without a doubt. I generally thought I was having a heart attack.
so what happened? Were you at a job or what happened?
No, so I woke up. It was on a Friday morning, so I woke up. I wasn't feeling great, but I put it down to being tired. Um, I walked my son to school, and it's not that far. It's not even quarter of a mile each way. And then on the way back, I was feeling really, really lightheaded, really bad. But I wasn't getting any of the telltale signs that I would normally get. I got in, and Ben, I'm in my work gear. I'm about to like get in the motor and go off to the job. And my wife was going, you're not looking too clever. Sit down, have a glass of water, and the rest of it. So I did, and then I don't really remember a whole lot more. I sat down. She asked me if I was all right. Should she call 999? And I was like, no, no, I'm fine. Typical bloke mentality. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. If you must, go and call 101 or 111 or whatever the number is. Anyway, 10 minutes later, there's paramedics, blue lights. I'm on the floor, clutching my chest, can't breathe properly. She, bless her, she was in a panic, you could tell, but she was calm. And yeah, yeah, I was hooked up to heart monitors and they were on the phone to London Hospital. And yeah, crazy.
So you were, you said before we come on recording, you were off for um, only a week. What a
Yeah,
trooper! Like
well,
get back on it.
week 10 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Again, I will point out against medical advice. I shouldn't have done that, but that was against medical advice. They did tell me to take 6 weeks. I took about 10 days.
Yeah. But of course, we all know being self-employed, we don't have a luxury of
If I'm not,
being off.
no, no, if I'm not on the tools, I'm not earning money.
Yeah. So you're 5 years or so sort of working for yourself, mainly what, domestic work or
Yeah,
um,
so it's all been, well, I'd say 95% has been domestic. I did have a couple of little commercial contracts for like local care homes. But unfortunately, they got bought out by a secondary partner, and they have their own maintenance team. So, but to be honest, I prefer the domestic side of it. I don't like commercial terms of payment and bits like that. Cash flow is
mm,
very important when you're self-employed, and it just wasn't flowing when if we're there for 6 weeks and they're not paying us for 3 months.
yeah,
That's a big gap that we've got to factor in.
yeah. So you say you got a family. So how does your, I mean, I remember when my kids were young, how's a typical day look for you? So you do a school run, which is good,
Um,
like I did perhaps the school runs and pick the children's up and, you know, that's a definite an advantage to being self-employed. But what's a typical day look like for you?
So I mean, before I just do that, so my wife has a lot of health issues herself. You see, so I have to pick up a lot of the slack at home a lot of the time when she's in a bad flare up and bits like that. So typically, if she's in a flare up, then yeah, it's get up in the morning, get the boy ready, get myself ready, walk him to school, which I love. It's my favourite part of the day, walking him to school. And I know I've not got much longer because he's coming up for 9 now, and he's already asking to walk by himself, or can you walk behind me? And you know what I mean. And
Yeah,
with this, I'm not surprised. I'll be honest. Yeah, so I'll walk him to school. Like I say, it's only about a quarter of a mile. It's not even that really. I walk back, get the motor, head off to the job. I'm then quite bad. I don't eat during the day, so I don't stop for lunches or anything like that. And I literally just plow on at rapid pace as best as I can for say 6.5, 7 hours, and then it's in the motor. Most of the time, my wife will do the pickup, but if she's in a flare up, she can't because she can't physically move. So I then have to go and do the pickup, come home, make sure he's sorted, make sure she's sorted, get dinners ready, get baths done, and then he'll go to bed around 8 o'clock time. My wife normally follows quite soon after because she has to have a lot of sleep. And then the laptop gets fired up around about 9 o'clock, and I'll start plowing through all of the emails, the marketing, the constant inquiries, everything like that. And I'll normally switch the laptop off around about 11 o'clock at night, and then I don't really sleep. So my time is between sort of 11 p.m. and about 3 a.m. That's normally around about when I'll fall asleep.
wow,
And then I get up
that's
again at
great.
half 6 the next, and then up at half 6 the next morning. And I do that 6, 7 days a week, every week.
Wow. So have you always been like a light sleeper, or you not need much sleep,
Oh
or
yeah, yeah. No,
wow,
I mean all the way from about 14. I'd say I've always functioned on between 3 to 5 hours sleep a night. I mean that's why you can see them. That's why I look so pretty. But no, I've always been a low sleeper, as it were. But yeah, it seems to work for me. I don't recommend it to everyone.
no, I mean, obviously, I was going to have the conversation about again being self-employed and working and kid stuff and quoting. I mean, as my kids got a bit older, you know, I I try to sort of do a half day Friday perhaps and get paperwork done because I'd be the same as you, work all day, sort the kids out, look at jobs as well in the evening. So running around, doing the quotes, and it's pretty much from when you get up till we might have had an hour, Lisa and I, on an evening to to watch a program, which I normally fell asleep anyway. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
tough going,
me
isn't
and
it?
Amanda are exactly the same. Exactly the same. I probably shouldn't admit this on a podcast, but I've gone quite into watching EastEnders, but
My God.
only because she watches it. I found myself getting invested now, and it's just like, oh, what's become of me?
Yeah. I think, I love a good, I have like loads of sleep, but I think I'd rather have 2 hours sleep than watch EastEnders. Oh man, I haven't seen that program for ages. So you
Well, you're not missing too much.
so you do work some weekends, do you as well?
Yes. I mean, I've tried to cut that out. Like Sundays now, I don't work at all. Like Sundays, that's it. That's family day now. And that's all part of changing my own mindset for that. So no, Sundays now, that's me, my wife, and my boy. Whatever it is that we're doing, but that's family time. Saturdays, I'll work if it's productive for the project. Like if it's going to get something over the line, or if by going in for a couple of hours on Saturday morning, it means on Monday I can just hit the ground running. I've got no issues doing that either. But I'm trying to cut that back now as well because, well, to have a life. I mean, we might touch upon it, we might not, but obviously I'm trying to change a lot about my mindset at the moment because of the year that I had and because of the stress that's been put me under. So yeah, I'm trying to change that, but when it's so ingrained into my character, it's hard. I ain't gonna lie, it's hard to change that mentality.
Do you ever have it years ago? I'd be, flat out, and then say on holiday, or if you're fortunate enough to have a holiday or a break, I'd always be ill. Like, because my body would be just running on adrenaline all the time, and then I'd stop and I'd be like, I feel like crap. I'm not used to just not doing anything.
I mean, I'll be honest, I've not had a holiday, not a proper holiday, since I've become self-employed. Basically, since I've become a decorator, I've not left the country. Put it that way. I've had 1 week here, like with my wife last year, for instance. We went away for her birthday for a week just down to the New Forest. The year before, we went away for mine to Dorset, a similar thing. But that's it. That's the extent of our holidays since I've become a decorator. Definitely.
So, up to you how much we touch on it, but I'm just trying to, from our experiences and what you're experiencing right now, I know your business has changed in the last sort of 6 months or so, and you're now working just by yourself, yeah? So it was you and
So yeah, so when I started out on my own, like 5, 6 years ago, um, you know, I did well. I was doing really well, so well that it was at the point where I had to be realistic of I'm turning all this work away, like constantly turning it away. I need help, but I mean, and as anyone that's self-employed or try to work alongside someone else, trying to find someone that you trust to do the job to the way you want to do it, the standards you set, especially the standards I set for myself,
mm,
it was difficult. But my brother-in-law Carl, hi Carl, so he was working in retail at the time and he wasn't enjoying it. So he said, "Well, why don't I come along and we'll see how we get on?" And we did, and we worked really, really well together, like
yeah,
really, really well together.
yeah.
Um, and then yeah, we did that for about 2.5 years. We then made the decision to go limited, and as good as that decision was at the time, unfortunately, it just coincided with all the wrong aspects of my life. You know, I then took on a big project when Cole was going away to Australia for a few weeks. I managed to get the project done, but on the day of completion, the client turned around and said, "Oh, can't afford to pay you, by the way. We've got to wait for probate." Hang on, no. Like, no, that's not how this works. You know, I've just done all this work. It was like 3.5, £4,000 project. It was like, and you're now telling me you're not going to pay me. And I'm not going to lie, that was almost like the tipping point at that particular moment. I'd had a very stressful couple of months anyway, and then that was just the shove that my mentality didn't need, and I had a breakdown, a full proper mental breakdown. Doctors, meds. suicide watch, all sorts. It wasn't a fun time. Obviously, Cole, bless him, he got back from Australia and he's coming back to me in a mess, and the business that we've just sent limited in absolute tatters. No money coming in, no one's getting paid, suppliers aren't getting paid, and we had no capital. So it was just from that point we were just in recovery mode for the rest of the year. But then I had other setbacks. Of course, I then had my heart issues in June. I then lost my dad in November. Like, and it was it was just all too much. It wasn't fair on me. It wasn't fair on Carl either. Like, because you know everyone wants wages. Of course, they want paying for the work they've been doing. Do you know what I mean? And when clients aren't paying, and when suppliers are chasing, the
Yeah.
money just wasn't there.
Yeah.
Um, so we made a collective decision, myself and Carl, in October, that it would be better for both of us if we separated out our skills. So he's gone off and he's started his renovation company, which I'm very much behind, and I will support infinitely amounts. Tag him and everything I can, and he will do the same for Littlefoot. He is still part of Littlefoot, really. At least in
Yeah.
here, in my heart, he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're still going to work together, just not together, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So your breakdown, obviously you don't need to go into detail, but we've covered a lot already with regards to your wife, the pressures of running a business, your father and stuff like that. Was it just kind of accumulation of lots of things that just and not
Oh
being
yeah,
paid
it
just sent you
yeah,
into a
it was
spiral?
literally a million and one things, all minor little stresses to start with, and then once you chuck in all the big ones on top, and it was always, as bad as it sounds, it was always going to happen. I was
Yeah.
putting way too much pressure on myself and overthinking everything, and I mean every little detail. Like, that quote, this. Do you know what I mean? And it just builds and builds and builds. And like most blokes, I wasn't talking to somebody. It was pushing down deep inside, and I'll deal with that later. I don't need to think about that now. Without realizing, all I was doing was literally lighting the fuse of a stick of dynamite, and I didn't know how long the fuse was. So, and eventually, yeah, my brain just had enough and went, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and it broke.
Hmm. I can see how it happens. I mean, in hindsight, like from my point of view, I've always done well. We've had my dad worked with me for many years. He retired early and then worked with me for many years. So us two as a team were like brilliant. And then we had a few subbies. Craig, who's in the community, was brilliant. We had a couple others which weren't so good. I was piss poor at money management. I really was. And
Right.
it's like, I guess what I'm trying to get from here and from you or between us is lessons that we've learned. So, me, for example, it took a long time to get a really decent accountant and all my books straight and, you know, putting money aside and, now it's all through zero. I know where I'm at, and it seems ridiculous it took me so long to do it, and yet I see so many people doing it. I made similar mistakes every year, doing well but not putting sufficient funds aside, perhaps still eventually getting tax paid, but running a business terrible. I'm just wondering, like with you and your brother-in-law, obviously it was going well, you had one non-payer, um but where did it?
No,
Oh,
no,
more.
no, no. That was one non-payer. To give you an idea,
Yeah.
over the last 12 months, I've had to chase 19 clients for money.
Wow.
19. And they vary from, say, 50 quid job all the way up to the largest one ever was £38,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I've
crazy. Bear in mind, I've got solid terms and conditions as well. I've got cast iron paperwork. I paid a fortune to have these written by a proper solicitor after I got burnt the very first job I ever went out on my own, funny
Yeah.
enough. And so I paid for this and had it all in place. They all get the same treatment. And as bad as that sounds, I don't care if you owe me £50 or if you owe me £50,000. I follow the process, and it's all obviously follows the legal process. The action
Yeah.
before letter before actions rather, and stuff like that. most people will end up paying once they get that first sort of nudge, but there are ones that they will ride that out. There are professional non-payers out there. There absolutely are. And unfortunately, I seem to attract them.
Did
It seems
did were most of these domestic customers?
all of them, every single one, bar that
Crazy.
38 sort of £1,000 one. That was a
Yeah.
big Kent-based building firm. It was actually the first job Carl ever joined me on, and we're still feeling. I'm still feeling the financial repercussions of that 4 years later.
Yeah, that one alone would knock you so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
That
And
just
it didn't
seems
just knock
so,
me. Obviously, it knocked Carl as well, but it's
yeah,
just crazy.
but that just seems so crazy because I maybe had one non-payer, but I've eventually got it in 20 odd, like 30 years or
See,
whatever.
I talk to a lot of decorators, especially from Brush Wizards, and a lot of them do say that. They say, "Oh, I don't understand why you get so many." And I actually kind of do know why deep down, and it's nothing to do with the clients. It's to do with me, and it's a problem that is ongoing in my life, and it's the fact that I'm just not forceful enough. I'm too
Mm.
nice. I keep hearing that. It drives me mad, but I keep hearing it. You're too nice. You're too nice. I am too nice. I know I'm too nice. But I can't think of any other way to be.
Yeah, I'm naturally a nice person. I'm an empath. You know, going back, looking back, I would always, oh, they'd be like, just, my dad called them just jobs. Can you just do da da da? And we'd be like, yeah, yeah,
Could you
that's
just?
fine.
Yeah,
No
yeah,
problem. But as I've got older, definitely like, I don't do, within, for something minor, I do no extras free of charge because people just walk over you.
yeah. I do.
And,
And the sad thing is, I let them do it, and I'll keep. And
mm,
the worst bit is, I'll keep going back. But that's why I'm trying this year. Like honestly, we might touch upon it, but I'm changing my mindset this year. I've
yeah,
set very very clear boundaries for my life this year,
yeah,
and it is saying no, and it is making myself not so available, not just for clients, but in my private life as well. Because I mean, to give you an idea, I put out a video a couple of weeks ago on my personal social media, and it was detailing this. That these are the rules. This is what's going to happen from now on. 2 days later, I broke that rule straight away. Someone messaged me, "Can you help me with this?" Yeah, sure. Like
yeah.
straight off the bat, didn't even think about it. Yeah, of course I will. I've had 3 people in the last 2 days message me. Oh, could you just pop round and do this? Could you just pop round and do that? And typical me, yep, I'll be there. Don't worry, I'll pop round.
So you're like my old version of being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's
I've
hard to
always had it
break
in my
it.
head that if people are happy, I'm happy. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
but it's like they say, if a blooming aeroplane's going down, who'd you put the oxygen mask on first?
yeah.
You know,
Just
should
be
always
yourself, isn't it?
should always be yourself. Always look after yourself. And I had even customers over the years, like I've known for, I get Christmas cards from loads of mine. They're like, Gary, I need like the exterior doing again next year, and I'll be like, I'm not doing them anymore. And it took
Mm.
me a long time to say that to customers. And they were like, well,
Yeah.
why aren't you doing it? I said, they're just a pain in the ass. I can't stand doing exteriors. But it
I
took a
hate
long
exteriors.
time. I was years still doing these bloody sash windows, hating
Mm.
every minute of it and making me feel crap, giving me anxiety because I wasn't being myself and the moment that changes is when you start feeling so much better in yourself. And it's not like you even being nasty, you're just setting boundaries. So I'm going to be on your case, Neil, and
And
make
that's,
sure
yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah, well, no,
messaging
you're
you.
not the only one. You're not the only one. I'll give him a shout out. John Eaton, I love the guy to bits. You know, obviously
Yeah,
know John very well.
yeah,
He has been commenting a lot of my posts recently, and he's been saying the exact same thing. Set the boundaries. You're not being selfish. You know, it's not selfish to want self care or to have time for yourself. You can say no. You don't have to feel guilty. But it's 42 years of it up here.
I know, I
It's
know.
going to be a slow process of change, but I'll get there eventually.
I mean, a lot of my background was I struggled as well. One of the reasons I set up Brush Wizards because when I was struggling, I had no one to talk to, and Your wife don't understand, your friends don't understand. And got help, got therapy, and found a cognitive hypnotherapist. That's what I trained in because I was so blown away. Within like 4 sessions, I felt so much better. It was just incredible. I trained as a hypnotherapist, saw clients for a few years, but I was still painting and just burning myself out, weirdly enough. So I was like, right, let's focus on painting still. But that kind of was the reason I sort of set up Brush Wizards, a mixture of both of what I've learned. Yeah, it really changed me, like getting therapy and getting help, because I could just see what I was like, and I didn't have any boundaries, and I was a people pleaser, and it just caused untold misery for me.
Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, I've had therapy in the past, like when my parents divorced when I was like 12 and things like that.
Mm,
And when I've previously had mental spirals, because I've always suffered with mental health, anxiety, depression.
mm,
It turns out I'm waiting for the assessments and stuff now. It turns out it probably is actually undiagnosed ADHD. Trust me,
yeah,
that would make a whole lot of sense for my life if it
yeah,
was
yeah.
that, because but I'm not saying I have that, but it would make sense. So I've always been in and out of therapy to some degree, but for me personally, I've never found the benefit of talking one on one with someone or something like that.
Mm,
What I have found useful for me over the last 6 weeks or so is I'm doing my own sort of self therapy,
mm,
where I have my own separated Facebook sort of group, and I just talk about whatever's going on in my head. I just
mm,
talk into the camera, and I've noticed it's helping me get everything out. It's helping
mm,
me process it in a way. I've noticed over the last 6 weeks, I'm sleeping a lot better. I'm eating a lot better.
mm,
I'm more present with my family, which is a big thing because literally I'd get in, and just sort of shut down. I'd just go into zombie mode and do or get the boy ready, do dinner, have a
mm.
bath, sit down. Do you know what I mean? I was just a zombie, but I'm more present now with people, and so I found that's helped me more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, you analyze our lives, we just run on autopilot. Our subconscious runs our lives, and we're very rarely conscious. And that's what you're saying. It's like if you can just catch yourself where everything's just so automated, isn't it? From driving to work and doing your job, you don't have to consciously like think how to do it. So by taking a step back and analyzing your life and being more present is key to kind of being in a better place, like you say. No, it's really interesting, and I appreciate you opening up about it. Like we said before we started, it's just by talking about it, we can hopefully help other people. And in particular, I'm pleased you brought up about, it doesn't have to be called a people pleaser, but just not having boundaries. And I think that can be the problem, like you say, what's caused a problem in your business in terms of, the
Absolutely
financial
is.
stress as well.
Yeah. Um, you know, Going limited at the time, especially when we were doing it, it just seemed to be obviously the right thing to do, and we were so excited for it, and we were so geared up for it. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm back on my own now. Carl's doing this thing as I mentioned, but when the decision was made that the limited business can't continue, like not in its form that it is, it was that overwhelming sense of failure.
Mm,
Like, it really was. It was just profound. Like, generally felt like I just let everyone down. And I don't think I'm ever really going to shake that. I'm always going to think back to what could have been if things were ever so slightly different. If that client
yeah.
hadn't said, I can't pay you, if I hadn't had my breakdown, but I guess I can't live with in those regrets, but I will always think back to it and go, oh, if only, you know?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a failure. It's just circumstances. And, when it's two people and you both pull in a wage, and, I've seen it in different businesses where I know people where they've got a similar setup. One pulls more weight than the other one, and suddenly there's that resentment and stress that comes with it and everything else. It doesn't really matter. It's gone now. It's in the past.
Yeah, I mean,
You're still young. You've got, a long time to
yes,
sort of bounce back and
But
earn some
no,
decent
I
money.
mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of the limited thing, though, like like where me and Cole have split, like there's no resentment there at all. Like it was just it was something we tried, and it was something that just didn't work. So, like I say, he's off doing his thing, and I can't wait. I'm hoping to God that he drives that so far forward that, in a nice sense, he leaves me in the dust. But because he deserves every success, of course he does. So I'm hoping that between us, we can one day come back together and do our thing. Once we've got ourselves, well, more importantly, once I've got myself right again, and once I've got my head straight and my ducks in order again.
Yeah. One thing I would say is once, it's still early days and you're still, going by yourself and it's been a hell of a lot of changes and obviously the, various stuff that's gone on, it's going to affect anybody. But hopefully going forward, you can work out what your value is as well, in terms of what you can earn working by yourself. Because like after COVID, I went back to just myself and doing jobs and I specialize in hand painted kitchens and I was earning pretty much the same as what I was using a load of subbies. I just upped my rate so much, and it got to a stage where I could still have a comfortable week, but still earn really good money and not run myself ragged on jobs which paid average money. So,
I mean,
is that something you're
I've got
considering for the
quite a lot.
future?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot. My diary's looking good now. It's looking quite healthy now.
Mm,
So I'm a good 6 or 7 weeks ahead now, with other months now starting to fill up, which is good. Because I was used to being 8, 9 months booked in advance. That's pretty much how it was for me, and it was for a long time.
mm,
Um, but then, obviously, when there's two of you, that window starts to get a lot narrower.
mm,
And then if you hit a quiet month or a couple of quiet months, that window gets even narrower. And before you know it, it's gone so narrow that you're literally week by week. Oh my God, where are we going to be next week?
mm.
Whereas now I'm back to having 6, 7 weeks ahead. That makes me very comfortable up here. It means that I can now plot where I want to go with myself, and I've
Yeah,
already started doing that. So, like yourself, I love doing kitchens. I really do. I love the cabinets, and I love doing all that hand painted. So I'm going to be starting to sort of focus my advertising now specifically towards things like that. I love doing hall stairs and landings as well. I know a lot of decks don't, but I do.
yeah. I
I
mean,
love a hall stairs and landing.
you can have them all mine.
To me, it's like the focal point, especially if you get a nice big house and you've got a lovely hall stairs and landing. Oh my God, the difference it can make.
Yeah,
And I like stepping back and going, I did that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's that brilliant sort of thing. All right, not too keen on spindles, but that is what that is. But no, so that's where my advertising is now going to be heavily focused, is the kitchens and hall stairs and landings. Cutting out exteriors completely, especially after this year. All
oh,
exterior jobs this year that we had got rained off or delayed or cancelled. In the nicest sense, I don't really want to be doing single bedrooms anymore for a couple of £100 or whatever it works
yeah,
out to be.
yeah,
And then I don't know where I'm coming from one day to the next. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, yeah.
I want nice big projects, but specialised towards those sort of two areas. That's my goal
Yeah,
for this year.
I'll support you as well because I can give you some really good tips on how I did them, and especially ones where you can have a lot of upsells. In terms of you can suggest changing worktops, changing door furniture and all sorts,
Well,
soft
yeah,
closing
I did.
hinges and all that kind of stuff. You can create like a nice little pack.
I did a little kitchen a couple of weeks ago. Only a few cabinets. I think it was about 10 cabinets, tiny little sort of bed city looking kitchen thing. And I suggested about wrapping the worktop. And she said, "Oh, is that something you can do?" Oh, maybe, maybe. I was like, "Look, I tell you what, I'll do it cheap if you give me the practice."
Yeah,
And she snapped my arm off, and it come
yeah.
out brilliantly.
Did
And I
it?
was
Yeah,
really impressed with myself that
yeah,
I've only ever done it once before, and that was probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
yeah,
But I actually really enjoyed that, and I actually managed to get the curve of the cut for the ends and bits like that. And that gave me a big confidence boost that I can upsell that now. Do you
100%.
know what I mean? So to
Have
a
you, do you know,
degree, I'll have a bit more practice, but
yeah, do
yeah.
you know Sue have you seen her stuff in the community? Poppy Sue
Yes, I
Kitchen
have
Dolly.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah, so she does wrapping. They look amazing. So
yeah, they do. Yeah,
definitely, I can give you some help and how to focus on that because I just feel you do need to sort of. It doesn't mean you can't take on other stuff, but when people look at you, are you just a general decorator or are you a specialist and do you niche in something? And I think it's really essential to be seen as an expert in one particular area
yeah.
because that just
No,
changes it.
definitely.
Suddenly it's like, he's specialist. It's something a homeowner can't do.
And I think that's why I'm going for those sort of two areas. Like, I don't know many homeowners that will do their own hall stairs and landings.
No.
Like, they don't have access equipment and bits like that.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have the patience, especially when it comes to stripping that back all of the spindles and bits like that. It's a time-consuming process that thankfully people like myself and you and other decorators, we know the tips and the tricks and the ways to help things move along at a bit more of a faster pace. Whereas your general DIY or homeowner will just look at it and go, "I'll just slap the paint on it and that will do." Whereas we know that's not the case.
Yeah.
But there's also in my area, like where I am in Hampshire, there is so much competition around here now. Over the last 3 years, I've gone from maybe going up against say three or four other really good decorators to going up against 50. And they don't put photos out of their work. Do you know what I mean? They're all, no disrespect to them, but they are handymen or gardeners that are just, they're grabbing a brush and a roller and calling themselves a decorator, charging half the price that a real decorator would. Look, I get clients. Some clients will be really happy with the finish. I'm sure they will, and I'm sure some of them do an amazing job for the money they charge. When you've seen Facebook posts, especially, and like see someone go, "Oh, looking for a decorator," and within 7 minutes, there's 54 comments, for instance. You're like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
But
like
that's the problem, isn't it? You homeowner doesn't know that they're crap. They're working out the back of a car. They've got no dustless setups. You know what I mean? It's not, you can't blame the customer, and that's why it's our job, like you say, to come across as the specialist in something because that gives you a
and
far,
education is key."
yeah, because they can look at your profile. Say they want their kitchen doing, look at your profile. Oh, I know Neil does it. They can look at other profiles and they've maybe got pictures of a bedroom or a living room they've done. Do you know what I mean? Who are they going to go for? And they're going to
Yeah,
pay that
exactly.
that extra as well because you know what you're talking about. So
It's not that try to separate myself now from all the other decorating companies around here. I offer bits that I know not a lot, if anyone actually does. Like I give a year's guarantee on anything that I do, absolutely anything.
mm,
So obviously within reason, there are limitations to that. If they've scuffed the wall, that's not included. But if something's not necessarily taken correctly and it's cracked after 6 months when it shouldn't do, of course I'll go back and I'll sort that for free. That's all part of my thing. I also offer what I call an aftercare paint package. Now, within that, I'm probably giving away my secrets now, but I give
no,
away
no,
individual tins of all of the paints and primers and everything that's been used. They're all labelled with whatever room they were used. So if they ever do need to touch him over the first few months, I don't get a call back. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm probably doing myself out a little bit of money there from time to time, but I put a little paintbrush in there and they get aftercare instructions about how to actually look after their new paint work. I don't
amazing,
know anyone else that does that. And then that's given to them and they can read it. And I don't think I've ever had a call back from that ever.
amazing. Little touches like that will make all the difference. And what the beauty is now, it's in your own hands to develop what you want, and you've
Yeah,
got full
exactly.
control over it. So
Yeah,
I think I'm very optimistic for your future for 2026.
I am. I'll be honest. At the end of last year, with the year that I've had and everything like that, I was ready to give it all up. I'll be honest. I was going to give it all up. I said to myself, I'd be far, far happier just being on somebody else's books.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Being told where to go and told what to do. But then I thought, well, no, because then I'm not going to get that freedom. Like,
no,
no disrespect, but no employer I know is going to let me drop work at a moment's notice if my wife's having a flare up, or if my son's had an episode at school with his bullies or his teachers. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
at least with that, I can sit there and go, well, no, I'm my own boss. I can go do that. Sorry, my cat's playing with his ball, so you might hear a bit of a ping around.
All right.
One of my friends, funny enough, he commented on my Facebook the other week and said, well, aren't you worried that about your clients? Well, what if a client isn't happy with you going to go and do that? And I suddenly, it's like an epiphany. I was like, well, then I don't want them as a client,
Yeah.
right? In the nicest sense, I know clients get to choose their decorator, so why can't decorators choose their clients?
Yeah. 100%.
So
And
that's
have you?
exactly what I'm doing now. I'm looking at the jobs and going, rather than saying yes to everything, I'm going, no, I actually don't want to do that. I'm not going to
Mm,
go do that.
yeah.
So I'm getting there with that now.
Yeah. 100%. No, I'm pleased for you, Neil. You deserve it.
Appreciate that.
Right. A
Thank you.
quick finisher. So
Go
I'm
on
always
then.
interested to know what paints you're using. So let's start with paints. Quick rundown. Is there a variety, or do you have a specific?
No, I'm quite specific in what I like to use
Hmm.
because I supply everything. The client does not get to choose. I don't let them supply at all. Like they tell me their colours, and I get that put into whatever I need it putting into. For instance, ceilings. The only two I ever really use on ceilings is AR2, as a lot of people do,
Yeah.
and WRX Trade Durable White.
I've never used it. Yep.
No, it is incredibly good for the price point. It really
Is it?
is. Yeah. So if you haven't used it, I do recommend people trying it.
What
The only
reasonable as
thing I will
well?
say about it, uh,
Reasonable price wise.
well, yeah, very reasonable. Yeah, it's I would say it's not it's obviously not as good as AR2, but if you were looking for a cheaper alternative, that I would recommend that one. Um, and not only that, it's a durable. So as you know, it can be used pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, the only slight issue I had with it a couple of months ago, a couple of like ceilings badly framed for no reason. Contacted WRX, sorted me out of a couple of free tubs as an apology, and never had an issue since. So it must have just been a bad batch. Um, in terms of woodwork, I only ever use AquaGuard.
Yeah. It's quality. Yeah.
Now, whether that be, although I don't use the gloss, it's not that glossy, but I haven't found a water-based gloss actually, to be fair, that is high sheen. So every now and again, I might have to go back to the old oil, but I
Yeah.
try not to.
Yeah.
And in walls, then I tend to flip between Crown Clean Extreme, which I really, really like. I really like that paint. And then I've just been introduced really to Johnson's durable acrylic, and my God, that stuff's amazing. I didn't realize it was that good because I'd always had a bit of a bad experience with Johnson's paints from years back,
Hmm.
but they've obviously upped their game because yeah, their durable acrylics are really, really good.
Where do you get them from?
And so I get all of my supplies from one supplier, and that's in my town, and they're called Tradex Supplies.
I've heard of
Um,
them. Yeah.
honest to God, honest to God, Aid and his team in that shop, they have been nothing but amazing with everything over the last few years. The
Brilliant.
way they've helped support me, like in terms of my business, helping when bad payers haven't paid and I owe them, in some cases, a lot of money. They've been really, really good with me, understanding. And yeah, I can't thank them enough. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't still be in business, to be honest.
And it's Tradec.
Great,
TRADEC.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I have
supplies
heard of them.
limited.
Yeah. That's good. That's what this podcast is all about as well. Giving people shout outs. I think that's amazing. There's some great independents out there.
Yeah, they really are.
And what about your brushes and rollers? What we're using?
Oh, so brushes, Axis Silk Touch for
Lovely. Yeah.
definite, and Arrowworthy Classics. I used to be a big Pro Fusion fan, but well, since the Axis has come along, they've just, for me, they've blown them out of the water, and so I don't tend to use them anymore. And rollers, again, Arrowworthy, Blue Vein Heavy Piles, quite a lot, and the hammy greens. I mean, you can't. I don't think you'll find a much better roller. But I will say the Axis Silk rollers are actually very good as well. I got given
Yeah.
a couple to try, and they were very impressive.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it's good. I think these companies, like as you know, a lot support brush wizards, and
Yes.
a lot of them they don't. they're never sort of heavy on me in terms of being like, right, promote, promote, promote. It's just more about awareness, supporting what we do as a community. So I'm very grateful for them, but also it's lovely when people do give shout outs to just sort of say, look, this is genuine talk. It's not just someone being paid to cut in, do a video cutting in with a brush. It's more genuine conversations and genuine reviews. So
See,
I
that's
shall,
because when a couple of years ago, I got really into the review side of things,
yeah,
like not paid or anything like that. But if I was using a new product I'd never used before, I'd give an honest review on it on my business page.
mm,
And that led to a couple of companies actually contacting me and sending me some bits
mm.
and saying, look, give an honest review and all the rest of it. And I did that for a while, but I've sort of fallen out of that now. I need to get back into doing that a bit more because I did enjoy it. And like I say, I give honest opinions. So
Did you get your face on camera doing it?
no,
Okay.
I mean, even this is a new thing for me. Being on video is a whole new experience for me. I've only been doing this now about 6 weeks on cameras.
Mm.
Hate the sound of my own voice. It's for radio, in my opinion. But
Not
doing
at
like
all,
these
man.
self therapy, doing these self therapy videos and things like that, that's helped break those barriers down and is making me a lot more confident to talk on camera now. And that's what I'm going to be doing from now on. Like I'm doing videos now for the business. I mean, I put a stupid little post out the other day of me dancing to some hardcore trance while cutting in. And, but it's just little bits like that. It's helping me get out of my own head a little bit and break those barriers down and make myself feel a bit more comfortable. Because in this day and age, especially with social media, everyone's on camera these days, aren't they? Like,
Well, you say everyone, but like with my community, some companies say, "Oh, do you know anyone that fancies doing a review?" And it's very, very difficult to get people to do reviews and get their face on camera. Like tonight, you've come across brilliantly. I think you'll be excellent at doing it. And
more than happy, more than happy to do it.
there's companies out there which are looking for genuine reviews. So if you're happy doing it, why not give it a
Absolutely.
go? You know,
Yeah.
be
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
there's a number
That's
of
what I want. That's what I want to be doing this year is like literally every job I do, I want to make some form of video about it, or whether I'm talking about a process or talking about a product or just just talking about the job in general, like we're doing walk rounds and bits like that. And it's helping my own self confidence massively.
mm,
And it's bringing me out of my shell a little bit more. My wife's actively encouraging it as well. And she keeps saying to me, you need to lean into your madness a little bit.
yeah.
Because I mean, I am a little bit bonkers, I ain't gonna lie. But I've got,
We're
and
all
she was
mad.
saying,
Decorators are mad.
well, I think you've got to be a decorator, haven't you? To be fair, no sane person would normally choose this career path. But
But
no, and I am. I'm starting to let my personality come out a bit more rather than hiding it through fear of rejection. Right.
yeah.
And that's what it was. It was a fear of rejection or fear of I'm going to get laughed at. And it's like, well, why not laugh at myself then? So if I'm laughing at myself, let the people laugh with me.
Do you know what though? Is as long as there's going to be trolls, big time, right?
Of course there
And
are. Of course there
I,
are.
I've had quite a few in my last few years doing brush wizards, but I honestly don't give a shit. I'm
No, I don't.
what I'm doing is a community for to help painters. It's a safe space, isn't it, to chat. There's
It
never any
absolutely is. Yeah.
keyboard warriors, and if there is, it
No.
gets sorted very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And
And
you know,
it's the only group I post my work in is Brush Wizards. It's the only group, honestly, up until now that I have felt safe enough to do so. There is another one. I'm not going to give another shout out to a different group.
no, give it a shout out, man. I
No,
don't
so
mind.
all right then, we'll trade decorator there. So
Yeah, Paula runs a good
Paula's thing.
group. Yeah,
Yeah, she does run a good group, and so I'll feel safe putting my work in there. And I've actually won a project of the month through them and things like that before.
yeah,
Um, Brush Wizards, there's something about it. What you and Lisa have done is simply amazing, and I know you've got great moderators as well. Um, but I mean, I remember joining the group when I think there was about 210 members or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So, and I joined it, and I didn't post anything for months and months because I wanted to see what the sort of group was going to be like. Because as we know, there are a lot of groups out there that they're not very well watched. And I see some of the comments and some of the put downs that other decorators put on other people. And I just think, why? But I've never seen that in brush. Was actually, I saw, tell a lie, I saw it once, and I think you shut it down in about 40 seconds flat.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I know, like
and
we've
that's how
got
I,
a what do I call it? I forgot what I've even called it. Anyway, like a WhatsApp chat for all the moderators. So it's a control center we call it, and it's something shitty happens. I know so quickly. They're like, Gary,
yeah.
look at this fucker.
No,
I'm
but
like,
that's a good thing because it means you've got a team that you can obviously count on as well to help with that. Because I
yeah,
mean, I can't
absolutely,
imagine how much of your time this must take up
a
between
lot,
like
yeah.
you
But
and
then
Lisa. I can't even imagine.
I'm ever so grateful. I mean, every post is checked by us. No, there's no automatic. Um, it does take a lot of time, but then if it didn't, it'd just be full of spam and full of nastiness. And I'm grateful for what I've created, um, because obviously, we do well with the companies that support us and stuff. So, it's great, and we love doing it. But no, Neil, I appreciate you coming on. It's
Thanks
been
for
a
having me
really
on.
lovely chat.
As actually. I'm gonna lie, I was nervous as hell before coming on. Hence why I messaged you yesterday. Oh, is there anything I need to need to be aware of, anything I need to prepare for? But that's just me in general. If I could, when I was going for job interviews back in the past, if I could have phoned them up and said, "What do you want from me?" I would have
Yeah.
done that as well.
Well, trust me, Neil,
You
I
would have got
can't
the
get
job.
some companies on because they're like, no, no one wants to come on. I'm like, come on. I mean, I'm certainly no podcast expert. I mean, years ago, I streamed it into the community. We done chats with suppliers and stuff. And it just occurred to me like last year, I'm like, why am I not talking to people? I don't get it. So that's why I really wanted to do it. And I know every conversation like the one we've had today will help other people.
Let's
Um,
hope so.
so I
I mean,
encourage,
look,
in the show notes,
if
I'll put put your details so people can follow you and follow your
yeah,
journey. Um,
by all means, and look, if you do share my new group and stuff, I'll be honest, it's raw, it's unfiltered. There's a lot of swearing. There's gonna be a lot of stuff people are gonna not be able to really take on board straight away, and it does touch upon really sensitive subjects in a lot of cases. Um, but the only reason I'm doing it really to start off with is for myself. But if it helps just one person open up a bit more, then I'm happy to share everything about my story. And I'm an open book. Anyone can ask me literally anything about my life, and I'll tell you the God's honest truth. If you
yeah,
want to hear it or not is up to you. But you know, that's the way I've decided I've got to be from now on. I've had to do that now, even with my own family members. A lot of my family didn't realise a lot of my own struggles and past and history and things like that.
yeah,
But I've had strangers now messaging me that have seen some of these videos. They must be hitting some people's reels and stuff now, where they've messaging me and sort of saying, "Oh, you're so brave for speaking out." I don't see it as bravery. I just see it as I'm just putting myself out there, and if that helps somebody else put themselves out there, well, then it might get somebody else to do it, and then do you know what I mean? And it's a chain
yeah,
reaction. It's time that, especially in the decorating world, that we talk about mental health and we talk about these struggles because we're all facing them. We just don't know we're all facing them because no one talks.
yeah. That's right. And one thing I would say to finish off is don't look at any of your past, with regret. It's got you to where you are now, and now you're helping other people so they don't make the same mistakes. But, so life's a lesson, isn't it? Every step.
It is, yeah. Every day's a school day.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Neil, I'll let you get back to your family.
No worries.
And
And
yeah,
tuck the boy up.
thanks again for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having me on, Gary.
You take care, mate.
And you, mate.